trust their passions. And a brand is also multidimensional. Because I am my brand, it's not confusing to people that one day I can talk about miscarriage and the next day I can talk about marketing. And then the following day I can talk about my favorite skincare that I'm using. It's because it's all based on me and what I love. And so when I look at different revenue streams, I think today I was actually counting because I was like, I thought I had 8, but I think I have 10. And when you start to look at life that way, it's like this life of abundance, but it's also this life of freedom because I know if at any point I wake up and I say, I don't really want to do that anymore, I still have legs to stand on. And I know that I still am going to be successful.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And it's interesting that you say freedom because that is the number one goal for a lot of people. And Tony at his Business Mastery event, he even says, how many of you guys got into this because you wanted freedom, because you want more free time? And then everybody raises their hand and then he says, yeah, how's that working out for you? So if you have so many things going on, how do you juggle them, right? Like how do you prioritize and how do you find time to do the things that are most important to you, whether they be business or personal? And then, how do you organize yourself?
Yeah. So I'm smiling as you're saying that because I can truly say like I feel ultimate freedom. And I don't think that many people would assume that when you look at the way my business is and the content that we're creating. When I was finally pregnant with my daughter, who is now 1 year old, I knew that like, okay, I've got to work hard to build this business up to that place where I can step away and just be a mom and be present with her. So that was my challenge. And the way that I did that was I started with one thing and I got really good at it. I created a system and then I handed it off. And a lot of times when I look back, I was skeptical of hiring. There were so many voices in my head that said, you're not ready to hire. Your business isn't big enough. You don't make enough money to hire. You can't afford to hire. Nobody's going to care for this the way that you do. Like, who do you think you are to hire? And it really held me back for so long because I believed all of those things. But when I look back, I realized that my grip was so tight around my money that I was just letting my time be spent without really understanding where it was going and what the value of it was. And so while we have 8, 9, 10 revenue streams today, there is only 2 things that are required of me in my entire business. And that is to be the visionary, to be the person in the driver's seat, to establish where we're going next and what that's going to look like, and to be the face and the voice. And literally everything else can be taken care of by someone else. And so it's been incredible because over the last 3 years, I went from 1 employee to 2, and now we have 10 women that are employed by my company. And it's this intimate group where everyone is staying in their lane and they're living in their superpower, and yet they're executing on a level that I would never be able to execute at, especially now as a mom. And so when I think about freedom, I'm like, I have it. Today, I was sitting here just relaxing and working on the strategy and the vision while my team was executing a lot of the tasks. And I just think as women, we want to take on all the things. We believe we can do all the things. And while we can do anything, that doesn't mean we should do everything.
So you mentioned that you have time to work on your strategy and your vision, which is great because a lot of people are too busy working in their business that they don't have time to work on their business. So what are some of the techniques or the methods that you recommend to business owners once they have taken that step to rejuggle their priorities? And then what's the process that you use when you think about your forward vision?
Yeah. So one of my biggest things that I tell people is to first take some time to define enough. And it's really interesting to me because I run in this circle with a lot of incredible men who are so successful and they're achievement-based entrepreneurs. And I'm actually a lifestyle-based entrepreneur. I want to make enough to feel comfortable and to feel free. I don't need to be on stages. I don't need to be in all of these places to be seen. I just want to be seen with my family first and then the world second. And so for me, what I recommend people do is that they define enough. So, what does it look like for you to meet your needs, whether that's paying your mortgage or your grocery bill? What is that total amount that you need to earn to give you that freedom to then free up your time? And I think a lot of times we don't even establish what that enough looks like. And so we're just filling our plates with more and more and more. It's like at Thanksgiving when your plate is so full and you sit down and you're like, where do I even begin? And so the way that I've been able to be the visionary is by establishing what our enough point is and only booking enough work to reach that point, and then having that margin, that blank space that then I can choose how I fill that, whether that's with strategy or whether that's with snuggling with my daughter before her nap time. what I love about that life is that once I have margin, I have clarity. And once I have clarity, I have direction. And I think so many times people are just so busy on that hustle train that they never actually take that step back and get that bird's eye view of where they're going.
A lot of people also don't take a moment to think about their why. So, one of the things that Tony talks a lot about is having a clear mission or purpose. So, what's your why? What is the thing that keeps you going through really difficult periods?
So I used to roll my eyes at this, not because I don't think it's important, but because I didn't know. And I think it's okay to say that. I think that a lot of times you see really successful people and they come at you with this really powerful mission statement that was crafted by a copywriter. And you're like, I'm just doing my thing over here. Like, I don't know why. For me, this year, it became incredibly clear, both as a mom and as a CEO. And I set this really ambitious goal this year to save enough money to be able to retire any day that I woke up and decided that I was done. And I'm 31 years old. And so that was a pretty big goal. But I wanted to test myself. Would I show up when I didn't have to anymore? And the truth was is that I'm showing up bigger and better because I care. And I wanted people to see like anywhere that you see me these days is because I care about it. And so for me, my why is to show women that you can do all the things. If you desire to be a mom, you can be a damn good mom. You can also be a really great CEO and you can be an epic wife and you can be a really good friend and you can do all of these things. And it's not going to be easy and it's definitely not going to be glamorous, but that it's possible. We have to have a strong enough reason behind it. And so that's my why, at least now for today. And maybe that will change tomorrow. Who knows?
Going back to what you said about how you're building a brand instead of a business, and the brand is you. And so you can be authentically you. And that is something that you don't have to work at. What's interesting is what you just said is basically like people are expecting us to shift into different personas. When you're a CEO, you act a certain way. When you're being a partner, you act a certain way. When you're a mother, you're supposed to shift and you're supposed to completely change. And that's what they call work-life balance. You have your work and then you have your life. But Tony doesn't call it work-life balance. He talks a lot about work-life integration. Especially for entrepreneurs, it's really key that you have that flow, that movement fluidly. You don't have to change personas every time you do something different. So, what does that term mean to you, work-life integration? And what are some of the ways that you think you demonstrate that? That would be a great example for other people who are struggling with that same situation.
Yeah, so I love work life integration because whenever I've thought about work life balance as a visual person, I see this scale and I think you have to take something from one side and put it in the other in order to try to find the balance. And it's never actually going to be in full balance. And so for me, as I was thinking about work life integration, I kind of laughed because before we recorded this, I was in nursing my daughter and putting her down for her nap. And then I had to come right back out and get back to work. My entire life is work life integration and it's figuring out where do I serve my world the best right now in this moment. And so over this past year, especially